My wife asked at couples therapy, "If I told you I cheated, would you forgive me?" I replied, "Is this hypothetical?" Then she confessed everything. 2 affairs, 3 years total. When I stood up, thanked the therapist, and walked out. When she chased me to the parking lot and my attorney was already there. I, 37 male, should probably start by saying my wife and I had been doing the couples therapy thing for about a month when this all went down. She'd been pushing for it hard, saying we needed to work on our connection and rebuild our intimacy. Looking back, I'm pretty sure she just wanted a controlled environment to drop the bomb, soften the blow, get professional guidance on how I should react. Too bad for her, I already knew. Not everything, but enough. See, about 2 months before she suggested therapy, I'd gotten weird vibes. Her phone was suddenly password protected. She'd shower immediately after going to the gym, started dressing nicer for work meetings. Classic stuff that you tell yourself you're being paranoid about until you're not. I hired a PI. His name was Dennis, retired cop, came recommended by a buddy going through his own divorce. Dennis was thorough as hell. 6 weeks of surveillance got me photos of my wife meeting the same guy for lunch. Multiple times. Coffee dates that lasted hours. And yeah, one hotel check-in that made my stomach drop when Dennis texted me the photo. But Dennis also found something else. Evidence of a second guy. Older trail, took some digging through her old phone records I still had access to, but there was a pattern going back years. 2 affairs, at least. Maybe more. I didn't confront her, didn't blow up, just collected evidence. Talked to a lawyer, made plans. When she suggested couples therapy, I agreed immediately. She looked almost surprised that I didn't push back. "Really? You'll go?" "Yeah," I said. "If it helps us, I'm all in." She hugged me, actually hugged me, and said she was so glad I was willing to fight for us. The irony was suffocating. So we started sessions with Dr. Patricia Wells. Nice lady, early 50s, very calm energy. The first few sessions were basic stuff. How we communicate, childhood family dynamics, what we each need from the relationship. My wife played her part perfectly. Vulnerable but hopeful, committed to growth. I played mine too. Concerned husband wanting to understand where things went wrong. Session 4 was today, and I knew it was coming because she'd been extra nervous all week. Fidgety. Checking her phone constantly. She was building up to something. We settled into Dr. Wells's beige office with the fake plants and motivational posters. My wife kept glancing at me with this weird expression, guilt mixed with determination. About halfway through, during a pause in conversation, she just blurted it out. "I have a question." She turned to face me directly. "If I told you I cheated, would you forgive me?" Dr. Wells leaned forward slightly, in full therapist mode. I kept my voice level. "Is this hypothetical?" My wife's face crumbled. Started crying immediately. "No, it's not. Here we go. I've been seeing someone from work," she said through tears. "His name is Trevor. It started last year. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did." Dr. Wells did her therapist thing, asking gentle questions, creating space for confession. I just sat there, waiting. "Is there anything else?" Dr. Wells asked. My wife nodded, crying harder. "There was someone before Trevor, a guy named Liam. That was longer. Almost 3 years. It ended when he moved for a job." 3 years. Most of our marriage. The room felt like it was underwater. Dr. Wells was saying something about processing feelings and working through betrayal, but I wasn't listening. I stood up. Both of them looked startled. "Thank you for your time, Dr. Wells," I said calmly. "This has been very helpful." "Wait, we should talk about what comes next," Dr. Wells started. "I think we're done here." I grabbed my jacket. My wife jumped up. "What? No, we came here to fix this. You came here to confess and get my immediate forgiveness in a controlled setting," I said. "I came here to confirm what I already knew." Her face went white. "What do you mean?" "I mean I hired a PI 2 months ago. I know about Trevor and the hotel visits, found evidence of Liam too. Today just made it official." I walked out. She chased me into the hallway, heels clicking frantically on the tile floor. "You knew? You've been pretending this whole time?" "Yeah. Needed you to admit it on record. Dr. Wells has to document everything discussed in session. Makes the divorce paperwork much simpler." I hit the elevator button. She grabbed my arm. "Divorce? We can work through this. That's why we're here." The elevator arrived. I stepped in. "Nope, we're done." She tried to follow me in, but I blocked her. The doors closed on her shocked, crying face. Took the elevator down to the parking garage, walked toward my car. That's when she burst through the stairwell door, slightly out of breath. And that's when she saw him. Gerald Morrison, my attorney, standing next to his Lexus about 5 parking spots from mine. He was dressed in a full suit, briefcase in hand, and he was holding a manila envelope. My wife froze mid-step. "Who the hell is that?" Gerald walked over, professional smile in place. "Mrs. Thompson? Gerald Morrison, attorney at law. I represent your husband." He held out the envelope. "You've been served." She stared at the envelope like it was a live snake. "What is this?" "Divorce papers. Filed this morning. You're being officially notified." Her head whipped toward me. "This morning? But we were in therapy. You couldn't have known I've known for 2 months," I said. "Trevor, Liam, the hotels, all of it. Today's confession just made the legal process cleaner." She looked between me and Gerald, face cycling through shock, rage, panic. "You set me up. You manipulated me into confessing." "You manipulated me for 3 years, I cut in. "I just documented the truth. Big difference." Gerald cleared his throat. "Mrs. Thompson, I strongly recommend you retain legal counsel immediately. All relevant information is in the packet. The preliminary hearing is scheduled for next month." She finally snatched the envelope from his hand. "You're insane. Both of you. This is entrapment or something." "It's called gathering evidence," Gerald said mildly. "Everything was obtained legally. The PI operated within all legal boundaries, and therapy session confessions are admissible. This can't be happening." She looked at me with actual desperation now. "Please, can we just talk? Alone? Just 5 minutes?" "All communication goes through our attorneys now," I said. "That's how this works." I got in my car. Gerald gave her a polite nod and got in his. She stood there in the parking garage, still holding the envelope, mascara running down her face. I started the engine and drove away. Didn't look back. Not once. Update, week later. Holy hell, this week has been something. So first, the text messages. Started maybe an hour after I left the parking garage and didn't stop until I blocked her number 2 days later. Screenshots of highlights. "How could you do this to me? We took vows. I was going to end things with Trevor anyway. This is cruel and manipulative. You spied on me, that's literally a crime. I'll tell everyone what kind of person you really are. My personal favorite, your coldness pushed me into their arms. This is your fault too." "Yeah, sure. I forced her to hook up with 2 different guys for a combined 3 years. That tracks. Sent everything to Gerald. He said keep documenting but don't respond. Radio silence is our friend. Then her mom called. That was a fun conversation. How dare you humiliate my daughter like this? Serving divorce papers in a parking garage?" "Hi Linda, your daughter cheated on me with 2 different men over 3 years. Thought you should know the full story." Pause. "She told me about her mistakes. Couples go through rough patches. You work on it. You don't just throw away a marriage." She threw it away. "I'm just filing the paperwork." This is vindictive. She's devastated. She can't eat, can't sleep. She should have thought about that before the hotels with Trevor, or the 3 years with Liam. "Who's Liam?" "Oh, so my wife only told her about Trevor. Interesting. Ask your daughter about him. I'm done with this conversation." Hung up. She called back 6 times. I didn't answer. 2 days after that, my wife showed up at the house. Our house. Well, my house technically. I bought it before we got married. It's only in my name. She never contributed to the mortgage. I'd changed the locks the day after serving her. Gerald confirmed that was legal since she's not on the deed and we're separated with divorce proceedings active. She must have tried her key first because by the time I checked the security camera, she was already pounding on the door. I used the intercom. "You need to leave." "This is my house. Let me in. It's my house. Your name isn't on the deed. Gerald sent you a list of times you can collect your belongings with supervision. Pick one. You keep me out of my own home. I can and am. You're welcome to call the police and show them the divorce papers citing your adultery. See how sympathetic they are." She stood there for another 10 minutes, alternating between crying and yelling. Finally left when my neighbor came out and asked if she needed him to call the cops for her. The next day, her sister called. I actually like Katie. She's usually reasonable. "Look," she said, "I'm not saying what she did was okay, but you're being really harsh. She made mistakes. For 3 years, Katie, with 2 different guys. That's not mistakes, that's choices. Multiple, repeated choices. She loves you, though. She's completely fallen apart. She loved me so much she spent 3 years lying to my face while sleeping with other people. Silence on the other end. I'm sorry this happened to you, Katie said finally. I really am. She's my sister, so I have to support her. But I get it. This is really messed up. Thanks for saying that. Means something. We hung up on decent terms. Yesterday Gerald called with an update. Your wife hired an attorney, guy named Rick Foster. He's okay. Handles mostly straightforward divorces. What's he asking for? Half the house value, 3 years of alimony at $3,500 monthly, and for you to cover her legal fees. I actually laughed. Based on what? Her contributions to the household and the lifestyle she became accustomed to during the marriage. The house I owned before we married, that she contributed exactly $0 toward in 7 years? That's what I told Foster. He's gonna push anyway, and she's claiming the adultery shouldn't factor in because you emotionally neglected her. I emotionally neglected her? I worked my tail off while she did part-time yoga instruction and apparently had plenty of energy for 2 separate affairs. I know. We'll need documentation of everything. Mortgage payments, utility bills, any attempts you made to work on the relationship. The therapy sessions actually help us there. Because I tried to fix things while she was confessing to 3 years of cheating? Exactly. Listen, she's gonna fight this instead of taking a reasonable settlement. Foster probably told her she has a case. She doesn't, but he'll try. How long will this take? Couple months probably. She'll realize she has no leverage eventually. So that's where I am. Wife wants half my house, 3 years of my money, and thinks I should pay her lawyer to help her get it. While she cheated on me, for 3 years, with 2 guys, the entitlement is honestly impressive. Update 2, month later. This has gotten absolutely insane. So the preliminary hearing happened last week. My wife showed up dressed like she was going to church, conservative dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, playing the wholesome wife role hard. Her lawyer Foster kept referring to her as Mrs. Thompson in this sympathetic voice like she was the victim. Gerald laid out our position. Clean split, she gets her personal stuff and her car. I keep the house, which I owned before marriage. No alimony, given the 3 years of documented adultery. Everyone pays their own legal fees. Foster's counteroffer was wild. House sold and proceeds split equally. 3 years of alimony at $3,500 monthly. I cover all her legal costs, plus she wants half the furniture. Judge was a woman named Helen Sutherland, probably late 40s, no-nonsense energy. She read through everything, the therapy notes, the PI reports, bank statements showing I'd paid every single house expense for 7 years. Mr. Foster, Judge Sutherland said, your client admitted to serial adultery spanning 3 years with 2 different partners. She's claiming entitlement to property she never financially contributed to. What's the legal basis? Foster launched into this whole speech about modern marriage partnerships and non-financial contributions and emotional labor. Judge Sutherland cut him off. Did your client pay rent? Well, no, but the marriage itself. Did she contribute to the mortgage, property taxes, or home insurance? The marriage was a partnership of. That's a no. Did she financially contribute to the property in any documented way? Foster shuffled his papers. No, Your Honor, but. Then she has no claim to it. Judge Sutherland turned to the alimony request. Your client wants $3,500 monthly. What's her current income? She works part-time as a yoga instructor. How much does that generate monthly? Approximately $1,200 to $1,400, depending on class attendance. And she was earning that same amount during the marriage? Yes, Your Honor. So she maintained her income while living rent-free and having an affair. Or 2 affairs, for 3 years. Judge Sutherland looked directly at my wife. Why exactly do you believe you're entitled to alimony? My wife had been crying quietly but spoke up. I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. A lifestyle funded entirely by the husband you were cheating on. I contributed in other ways. I managed the household. Did you cook? My wife hesitated. Sometimes. How often? A few times a week. Judge Sutherland looked at me. Mr. Thompson, did you also cook? Most nights, Your Honor. I work from home, so I usually handled dinner. Cleaning? We had a housekeeping service that I paid for. Came twice a month. The judge turned back to my wife. So you worked part-time, didn't cook most meals, and had professional housekeeping. What exactly were these other contributions? My wife just cried harder. Foster jumped in. Your Honor, my client felt emotionally abandoned in the marriage, which led to. Then she should have filed for divorce instead of conducting multiple affairs while living off her husband's income. Judge Sutherland was clearly done. Here's my ruling. The house remains Mr. Thompson's sole property. It was purchased before marriage with no financial contribution from Mrs. Thompson. She gets her personal belongings and her vehicle. No alimony. The extended adultery negates any claim. Each party covers their own legal fees. Final hearing in 6 weeks to make it official. Foster tried to object. Judge Sutherland shut him down hard. Mr. Foster, your client can accept these terms, or we proceed to full trial, where I'll subpoena both Trevor and Liam to provide testimony about the affairs. Your call. My wife looked like she'd been slapped. Foster looked like he wanted to argue, but clearly knew better. We left the courtroom. My wife tried to corner me in the hallway, Foster trailing behind, looking uncomfortable. This isn't fair. Her voice was shaking. 7 years of marriage and I get nothing. You got 7 years of free housing, plus whatever Trevor and Liam bought you. Those relationships are over. Trevor dumped me the day you served the papers, said he didn't sign up for drama. Shocking. Guy who sleeps with married women turns out to be unreliable. You're enjoying this. You like watching me suffer. I'm not enjoying anything. I'm ending a marriage you destroyed. That's when her mom appeared, face red with anger. This judge is biased. We're going to appeal. Gerald appeared next to me. Appeal what exactly? Your daughter admitted to multiple affairs. Judge followed the law. No grounds for appeal. Linda jabbed a finger at him. You poisoned that judge against her. Lawyers like you are what's wrong with. The judge asked direct questions. Your daughter answered them. Nobody poisoned anything. Katie showed up then, trying to pull Linda away. Mom, come on, let's just go. But Linda wasn't done. She got right in my face. You're destroying her life over mistakes. She gave you the best years of her life. She gave Liam almost 3 of those years. Trevor got 8 months. Pretty sure I got the leftovers. Gerald actually had to turn away to hide his reaction. We walked off while Linda continued yelling. Building security eventually escorted them out. In the parking garage, Gerald said, well, that went better than expected. She's not taking the settlement. Probably not, but in 6 weeks she'll get the exact same result, just with higher legal bills. Why drag it out? Pride, anger, legitimate belief she deserves more. Or she thinks you'll cave to make it stop. Not happening. Good. Also expect more contact attempts. She's losing and she knows it. Boy, was he right about that. 2 days after the hearing, my wife started showing up places. My gym, the coffee shop I go to in the mornings. Even tried to get into my office building, but security stopped her. Each time she'd try to talk to me. Apologize? Beg for another chance? Explain that she'd changed and realized her mistakes. I ignored her every time, just walked away or told her to contact Gerald. Then it got weirder. She started posting on social media, long, emotional posts about toxic relationships and narcissistic partners and surviving emotional abuse. Never named me but tagged mutual friends and talked about 7 years wasted on someone who couldn't forgive. My phone started blowing up. Old friends asking what happened. Some people I barely knew sending messages about seeing her posts and wanting to hear both sides. I didn't engage. Gerald said not to respond publicly, so I didn't. But then my brother called. Dude, your wife is at mom and dad's house. What? Yeah. Showed up crying, asking mom to talk to you, saying you won't listen to her and she just needs someone to make you understand. What did mom say? What did mom say? Told her to leave. But she sat on the front porch for like an hour before dad threatened to call the cops. Jesus. Next came the work stuff. I started getting weird looks at meetings. Found out later my wife had contacted HR with some vague complaint about me creating a hostile work environment by discussing our divorce with colleagues. I hadn't discussed it with anyone at work. HR investigated, found nothing, dismissed it. But it was clearly an attempt to mess with my job. Gerald sent Foster a formal letter about the harassment, documented every incident, the stalking, the social media campaign, showing up at my parents' house, the fake HR complaint. Foster responded with his own letter claiming I was harassing her by refusing to communicate and turning her family against her. The audacity. Yesterday, my wife tried one more thing. She called from an unknown number. I answered thinking it was work-related. "Please just talk to me." Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. All communication goes through attorneys. I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you and I want to fix this. You had 3 years to fix it. You chose not to. I didn't realize what I had until you lost free housing and the cushy lifestyle? Yeah, I bet. That's not fair. I hung up. Blocked that number too. The final hearing is in 2 weeks. Gerald says she'll probably accept the settlement at the last minute rather than go to trial where Trevor and Liam would have to testify. I'm just tired. Ready for this to be over. But at least I'm not the one who spent 3 years lying and is now shocked there are consequences. Final update. It's done. Finally. The final hearing was yesterday morning. My wife caved the night before. Foster called Gerald around 8 p.m. to say she'd accept the settlement terms. She showed up to court looking exhausted. Signed the papers without making eye contact. Judge Sutherland made it official in about 15 minutes. Marriage dissolved, effective immediately. Walking out of the courtroom, my wife stopped me one last time. "I hope you're happy now." Her voice was flat. "You got everything you wanted. I wanted a faithful partner, didn't get that. I made mistakes. You made choices for 3 years, multiple partners. That's not mistakes. That's who you are." She flinched like I'd hit her. Trevor meant nothing. Liam meant nothing. It was all just, I don't know. Escape? Attention? But you're who I actually loved. Funny way of showing it. Her eyes filled with tears. "I know I destroyed everything. I know that. But you didn't have to destroy me too. I protected myself. There's a difference. You humiliated me, made sure everyone knew, made sure I lost everything. I documented the truth. You humiliated yourself." Katie appeared then, gently touching my wife's arm. "Come on, let's go." My wife shrugged her off. "You used to be kind. What happened to you? You lied to me for 3 years while sleeping with other men. That happened to me." She opened her mouth, closed it, nothing left to say. They left. Linda gave me one last glare but didn't say anything. At least she'd finally run out of steam. Gerald and I grabbed lunch after. He ordered whiskey even though it was barely noon. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Empty." "That's normal. Even when you win, divorce takes something from you." She's telling people I destroyed her life. People who matter know the truth. The rest don't matter. Think she'll ever take responsibility? Gerald shrugged. "Some people can't. It's easier to blame you than admit she chose this." We finished lunch, shook hands. He said to call if I needed anything, but hopefully this was the last of it. I drove home, to my house, legally and completely mine now, and just sat in the driveway for a while. 7 years. 3 years of lies, 2 months of evidence gathering, 6 weeks of legal battles, and now it's just over. My wife moved back in with Linda and her stepdad. Heard through Katie she's picking up more yoga classes to make rent money. Trevor's apparently engaged to someone else already. Saw it on social media before I unfollowed everyone connected to this mess. No idea what happened to Liam. The house feels different now. Quiet, but honest quiet, if that makes sense. No more wondering, no more checking her phone, no more pretending. I'm 37, divorced, starting over. Most of my friends are married with kids. I'm the divorced guy now. The one people avoid at parties because failed marriages might be contagious. But I'm also free. Free from lies. Free from someone who looked me in the eye every day while betraying me. She asked in therapy if I'd forgive her for cheating. The answer was always no. I just needed her to say it first. Needed documentation, needed the truth on record. Some betrayals you can't forgive, some lies cut too deep. The divorce is final. The house is mine. And yeah, maybe I'm not fine yet, but I'm free, and that's enough.